Good morning, students. I am Dr. Kemal Koche. Welcome to today's lecture. In in the last lecture, we have seen how to write a simple C++ program. Today we will see introduction about C++ and object-oriented programming languages. As you all know, C is a sequential language which you have already studied in second semester. In the third semester, you will be studying object-oriented programming language using C++. C++ is actually the extension of C programming language. It is enhanced version of C language, and C++ supports all the functions which are available in C. In addition to that, it has different functionalities like polymorphism, inheritance, and classes, objects, which gives it more power. And by using object oriented concept, we are able to map the real world problems very clearly or efficiently. Okay. C++ was invented in 1979 by Benjamin Stoppard at Bell Laboratory in Murray Hill, New Jersey, USA. So what is OOPS? OOPS is a powerful way to approach a task of programming. OOPS encourage developers to decompose a problem into a constituent part. We call these parts as an object. So actually you need to understand what is an object. Object is nothing but when you give characters to something. For example, consider a pen. Pen is a class. When you say that this pen is having blue color, it writes in blue color, its cap is black, then it becomes an object. Means it is a pen which writes in blue color, whose color is blue and its cap color is black. This becomes an object. Similarly, consider one example, as if you consider a desk. Desk is a class. Number of types of desk may be there. When you give dimension, in which material it has been prepared, and what is the length, what is the height, all those things when you provide, it becomes an object. In real world, uh, we need to develop softwares which will map the real world problems, right? So that's why we are moving towards object oriented programming language. So complexity is reduced and programmer can manage large programs which will map the real world problems. So what is the difference between object oriented programming language and procedure oriented language? Right. First difference is procedure oriented programming language emphasis on doing things, that is procedures or functions, rather than data, which is very important. Right. Now consider, if you want to develop an application which stores the information of student, right? So what is the main part? What do you think which will be the main module or which will be the main part of your software? Right? So it will not be the functions, calculating the fees. It will not be that, but the data on which it operates. Yes, the information of the student is very important. Of course, procedures are important, but most important is your data. Right? If the data is wrong, then no matter how well you write your algorithms or programs or function, your software will not work, right? So main part is data, but in procedure oriented programming languages, more stress are given on algorithms, procedures and functions, whereas in object oriented programming, the emphasis is given on data rather than procedures, right? Means by using the concept of classes uh, and encapsulation. The data is encapsulated into a particular class and secured, and the functions which are belonging to that particular class will be able to access the data of that class only, right? So that's how the importance is given to the data. In procedure-oriented programming languages, programs are divided into smaller modules called as functions, whereas in object-oriented programming language, programs are divided into objects. In procedure-oriented programming language, data is not hidden, it is globally available for all functions. Whereas in object-oriented programming language, data is hidden and cannot be accessed easily by the external functions, right? Just now I have told you that the data and the functions which will operate on that data are encapsulated into that particular class. They are given as specifiers depending upon where they need to be accessed. That's why this data is hidden, right? Functions in procedure oriented programming language, functions communicate with each other using parameters, whereas in object oriented programming language it communicates using functions and not directly by the parameters. New data and functions can be added easily in procedure oriented programming language, whereas new data cannot be added easily into procedure oriented programming language, whereas new data can be easily added into object oriented programming language using the concepts like inheritance, which supports reusability of the code. So there are certain concepts. The previous slide we have seen difference, or we can say it is the characteristics of object oriented programming. Now we will see what are the concepts of object oriented programming language. The first concept foremost is objects, right? So it name suggests object oriented programming language. That means object is the central theme of this object oriented programming language, right? So what are the objects? Objects are the basic runtime entities in the object oriented system. They may represent a person, a bank, a table of data, or any atom that program has to handle, right? जैसे इसके पहले I have given you an example of, let's say you are considering a pen, right? So pen is a class, right? But when you give some characteristics, means when you give some values, that is what runtime entities means whenever the program is running and you are assigning some values to that particular object, then it becomes an object. So object is a basic runtime entities in the object oriented system. Now what is classes? Classes are the collection of member and member function which are operating on that particular member data. So one thing you need to understand, there is a difference between class and object, right? A person is a class, right? When you are defining anything which represent a particular person, right? So that becomes a class. But when you specify or when you give values to that particular person, that his height is something, his hair color is this, his eyes color is this, his photo is this, right? So when you give some value to that particular person, it becomes an object. Otherwise it will become a class, right? Just now we have seen one example of student information system. In student information system, student can be a class, but when you give some values x, y, z to that particular object of that class, it becomes an object. Next is data encapsulation. The wrapping up of data and function into a single unit is known as encapsulation. In object-oriented programming language, classes are the entity wherein the data members and the member function which are operating on to that particular data are stored together, encapsulated together. Then next is data abstraction. Data abstraction refers to the act of representing essential features without including the background details or explanation. That means you are hiding unnecessary details and you are showing only the expected details. Right? What is this abstraction mean now? Right? Suppose you are filling up some form. Right? If you are filling up some form and that form include information regarding yourself, right? Age, name, whatever. Right? So whenever you are giving anything to use to the user, you will just give, okay, this is a form, you just fill it, right? And after filling up the form, what will happen with that information? We hide it from the user. This is called as data abstraction. By using the concept of class, we provide data hiding and data abstraction. Next thing is very important thing in object oriented concept is inheritance. Inheritance is a process by which object of one class acquires the property of object of another class, right? It helps us to reuse the existing content or existing classes which we have already developed. Right? Consider what inheritance means is, consider your family, right? You inherit from your father and mother something, right? Your face, your color, right? And then you have had your own features as well. This is what we do with the what we do in the concept of inheritance, right? There will be one base class. That base class can be inherited into another class which we call it as inherited class, right? Or inherited class or abstract class, wherein you will get all the information from the base class, or you will get all the components of the base class, and you can add your new component as well. Yeah. So where it is used, you can simply consider example of your WhatsApp, right? So WhatsApp, you don't reinstall this WhatsApp again and again, right? What you do, you just install the updates. So the basic component, the base class is there, and you are just adding some new contents to it. This is called as inheritance. Next thing is polymorphism. Polymorphism, as you know, polymorphism means ability to take more than one form. Means one name can be used for, or one function can be used to operate on different perform different tasks depending upon the parameters provided to it, right? So that is called as polymorphism. There are two types of polymorphism: runtime polymorphism, wherein we will be using virtual function. We will see in the later topics. Then static polymorphism, operator, in which we are having operator overloading and function overloading. That is an advanced topic we will see later on. Now let's see the structure of C++ program. The structure of C++ program includes header file, that is preprocessor. Then it has class definition, then member function definition, then main function definition. Okay. So now what is preprocessor? Preprocessors are the statements which are processed before the execution of any statement. And you cannot, suppose you want to inherit or you want to include some library functions in your program, current program, you can use this header files or preprocessors to include those content to your program. Class we have already seen. Then member function, we will see how it is written like this. This is a syntax of how you can write a simple C++ program. This hash include means it is including a file iostream.h. This iostream is a header file. Header files are generally denoted by .h extension. Right? iostream matlab input output stream, right? Which includes input and output functions. Right? Then class, this is the definition how you write class. Class is a keyword. Class name is any name you give to that particular class. Then you can have different access specifier: public, private, protected. Public means the content which is defined as a public can be accessed from anywhere of the program. Private means whichever member data or member function defined as private will be accessible only inside the class. It is not accessible outside the class. Protected means protected members data or member functions are accessible only inside the class and also accessible in the inherited class, or you can say immediate inherited class only. Right. Then this is data members. Data members are nothing but general declaration of variables, integer, float, character, whatever you want to define. Then member functions. These functions will be the member functions for this class. After this, outside this class or inside this class, you can define these member functions. Okay. And lastly, you are having main program. This is the starting point for the execution of any C++ program. Right? Okay, this is all for the day. In the next class, we will try to write, we will just brush up the older concept of C programming language, basic syntax, and then we will start writing the programs in C++. Okay, thank you friends.